Hi, my name is Jillian Schaub, and I worked with Whitney Osborne to create this presentation. Today we're going to be talking to you about growth mindset, which is a very popular concept right now in psychology, education, and even parenting. In this presentation, we'll talk about what growth mindset is, some of the research that's been done into different mindsets, and what the implications are for you as an educator. So first of all, mindsets. What are they? The concept of mindsets was first developed by psychologist Dr. Carol Dweck as she worked on research about how people cope with failure. After observing countless people through different studies, Dr. Dweck concluded that people can have either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is the belief that people are born a certain way and are just stuck that way forever. According to a fixed mindset, people have certain fixed traits that they can never change because it's simply who they are as a person. An example of a fixed mindset would be someone who thinks, I'm not good at math right now, and I'll never be good at it because I'm just not the kind of person who understands how to do math. As you can already see, a fixed mindset can be very limiting. On the other hand, a growth mindset is the belief that human qualities can be developed and that change is possible. People with a growth mindset might believe you are born with certain talents or abilities, but that is just a starting point. With practice and effort, you can substantially grow and change your abilities in any given area. Someone with a growth mindset would look at the same math situation from before and say, I'm not good at math right now, but if I work hard and keep trying, I can get much better. So why does mindset matter? Dr. Dweck has conducted numerous studies on the effect mindset can have on different groups of people, and all show why a growth mindset is more desirable than a fixed mindset. One study Dr. Dweck did was on how mindsets can help young students manage the transition from elementary school to junior high. This has been proven to be a very challenging transition for many students as they adjust to the more rigorous standards and expectations of junior high school. Dr. Dweck studied a group of students who all started out with similar grades and test scores in elementary school. The major difference between students was that some had a fixed mindset going into junior high, while some had a growth mindset. During the 2 years of junior high, it was only the students with a fixed mindset whose grades suffered in the transition. The students with the growth mindset saw an increase in their grades over the 2 years. In another study, Dr. Dweck observed students in a college chemistry class that was seen as a kind of litmus test to determine if the students were really cut out to be in a pre-med program or not. It was a very high-pressure situation for the students, and their mindsets were a huge factor in determining if they were successful in the class. When students with a fixed mindset performed poorly on an exam, they tended to believe they would fail the rest of the tests as well. Students with a growth mindset, on the other hand, saw the poor test scores as a learning opportunity. They worked harder and found new ways to study that helped them be more successful on future tests. Yet another school group Dr. Dweck researched was Garfield High School in Los Angeles. The math teacher, Jaime Escalante, who you might know from the movie Stand and Deliver, taught his group of students college-level calculus. This school was one of the worst performing math schools in Los Angeles, but Escalante used his growth mindset to teach his students. After teaching, his class was top of the national charts in math, and many of his students were able to get college credits due to their test scores on the Advanced Placement Calculus test. These are just a few of the studies Dweck has done, but in each one, the growth mindset group has increased intelligence and shown higher performance than the fixed mindset group. And in the words of Carol Dweck herself, test scores and measures of achievement tell you where a student is, but they don't tell you where a student could end up. You're hopefully convinced by now about why a growth mindset is so important, but just in case, here we have part of an interview between a representative from Google and Dr. Dweck. She will explain a little more as to why it's important to teach a growth mindset.
We've done a number of studies where we have taught students a growth mindset. The idea that every time they do a really hard task and stick to it, the neurons in their brain form new connections and they can get smarter. When we show them how to put that into practice, we have found that students who learn this fare better across challenging courses and transitions. We just showed that in a study of women in STEM classes at universities around the country. But we've shown that at the transition to college, transition to high school, and so forth. So teaching a growth mindset leads kids to take on the challenges, stick to them, and improve.
So in our current education culture, and then I want to switch into the work environment, there's such an obsession with standardized testing and those tests having a real material impact on teachers' advancement and even in some cases their income. How do school systems battle on that front at the same time tackle growth mindset, which is more about working hard and process than the actual end result?
Yes. It's such an interesting story because standardized tests were brought in for good reason. There were students in certain parts of the country and in certain schools who were performing so poorly and nobody knew and nobody cared. And it was an attempt to say, let's not cheat kids out of a good education. But we all know the unintended consequences. School became about standardized tests, and many teachers, feeling that their jobs or their raises were on the line, taught to the test the entire year. How rewarding could that be for teachers or for students? And we did research to show that a lot of students think that those tests measure how smart they are and how smart they'll be when they grow up. So they're nervous about them, and the whole year is spent on them. When in fact, if you just taught kids and in a way that made them love learning, to love challenges, know how to stick to them, feel the thrill of improvement, then the test score would come as a byproduct of that. Finland, the country that does so well on all these international tests, they don't teach to the test, they teach. Mm-hmm. The teachers love teaching, the kids love learning, and they do well on the test. Let's get back to that here.
As you can see, mindset matters greatly in the classroom. A growth mindset can motivate students to take risks or take on more challenging assignments. Growth mindset can also help students recover from setbacks and have more hope for what they can achieve in the future. Students with a growth mindset can often push themselves to develop far beyond what they might have originally thought possible. On the other hand, a fixed mindset makes it difficult for students to listen to constructive feedback or bounce back from failures, so they often don't reach their full potential. Knowing how students can vary with their mindset is very important in each of our classrooms. The more students we can change to having a growth mindset will increase the level of an entire class too. So then the question becomes, how? If growth mindset is so important, how can I teach my students to have one? One of the things Dweck and her researchers have found to be most effective in teaching a growth mindset is actually teaching students about how the brain works. If students know that the brain is a muscle that can be grown and developed through practice like any other muscle, suddenly struggle seems less frustrating. It's just one step in training your brain. It's also important to have a healthy attitude towards failure in a growth mindset classroom. Assessments should not be seen as a measure of fixed intelligence, and failure should be viewed as an opportunity to look over the mistakes you made, figure out why, and develop a plan to fix them in the future. Similarly, emphasizing hard work and progress toward a goal in a growth mindset classroom is much more important than emphasizing intelligence or results on one particular assessment. One way to help your students value effort and shift their attitude towards failure is to change the language in your classroom to the language of growth. Dweck often talks about what she calls the power of yet. For example, I don't understand this yet, or I'm not good at this yet. This helps students look towards the future and see growth as a real, achievable possibility rather than getting stuck labeling themselves with fixed traits. Finally, it's vital that you as a teacher model a growth mindset in your own speech and actions so your students can see what it looks like in practice. One of the final aspects of a growth mindset classroom is how we as teachers treat praise. Dr. Dweck thinks that too often praise is connected to traits, when instead it should be connected to effort. For example, when a student asks, "How does this look?" what many teachers say actually reinforces the idea of fixed traits. For example, "You're so smart," "You did that so quickly," or "You're a natural." Instead, the teacher should praise the student's effort and help the student see the connection between effort and results. For example, "You studied so hard," "You've really improved," or "You're going to learn so much from that challenge." We hope at this point you understand more about the different mindsets, you can see why growth mindset is so important, and you have some ideas of how to promote a growth mindset in your classroom. Growth mindset isn't always easy, but it's such a powerful tool for both you and your students that we hope you see the value in working to achieve and maintain the mindset of growth. And remember, no matter how many setbacks you face or how many times you have to start over, becoming is better than being. Thank you.